Okay. So we're here. It's Friday. Yay! So sit however's comfortable. So again, for people at home too, if anybody's watching, we need a strap today. And if you have a bolster at home, you can use like a smaller bolster like this, or you can use the wider bolster. Or if you have a blanket, you can actually kind of roll a blanket up into thirds to use under your back. We're not going to do it until later. It's going to be a restorative kind of towards the end of class. So it'll feel good, a little restoring for the weekend. But so get comfortable in how you're sitting. Whether you need blankets underneath you or not, it's up to you and your hips. And just close your eyes and let yourself come in to watch your breath. And see if you can, as you watch your breath, just accept your inhales and your exhales really easily. So you're not trying to make your breath do anything. Let your eyes soften all around your eyes, all across your forehead, and all around your mouth. Start to move forward and back with your breath, letting your exhalations bring you forward and your inhales bring you back up. That gentle rocking motion, very quieting, and moving at the speed of your own breath. So if your breaths are a little bit shorter, there will be a little bit of a faster movement in a way. If your breaths are longer, you may even take time to feel those little spaces between your breaths where you have that little pause. Let yourself finish the one you're on so that you'll end up back upright. So take your time to get there. And once you are there, let your hands come on out to beside you, lightly touching the floor here with our fingertips. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now slide your hands over to the right side of your chest and tilt your head away so the left ear comes towards your left shoulder. And then as the hands slide back through center, the head comes up and you're just going to go the other way. So letting yourself release there through the neck. And let's do that again. Come up through center and shift the head over to one side of the hands away to the other. And then inhaling back up again. And as you exhale, come again to the other side. And then come on back into center with the hands here. Unfold our arms on down beside us. Bring your hands a little behind you, whether you stay up on fingertips or you decide you want to go back farther to lean back into your hands, that's up to you. And draw your chest forward, open through the front of the body here. Be comfortable in your neck, wherever feels good for you to look. And then we'll rise on back up. Bring your chin down towards your chest for a second. And then just turn your head side to side so the chin goes towards one shoulder and then the other. Just to let your neck go a little bit there. You can even kind of start to add a little bit in the shoulders. If it feels good, you can kind of roll a little one way and add a little bit of movement just to find release there in the upper back. And then we'll come on back into center. We're going to switch the cross of our legs if we're cross-legged. So If you need to stretch your legs out before you come to the other side, do. And if you need to keep your legs long, do. And let's, again, start to just ease our way forward and back with our breath. So really paying attention to how the breath is moving you. And again, if you can find at the end of your exhale when you come forward, just a little space where you're not moving, where the breath just is in suspension. And the same thing when you come back inhaling up. You have these little pauses between your breaths. And see if you can physically feel the body stop moving on those little short pauses. Not like it feels like you're holding your breath, but it's just that little sense of a suspended second there, a little split second really. Good. And the next time again that you come back upright, you're going to let yourself stay there. And then let's tilt our head right ear towards the right shoulder again. This time put your right hand on the floor to give you a little support. And start to float the left arm up, higher, 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 till it's right above your shoulder, palm facing forward. And let yourself just breathe now into that left side of the body. Sorry, I said the wrong arm. And then let yourself rise on back up. We're going to go to the other side. So again, tilt the head over, hand comes down. Let yourself roll down a little bit, and then let that right arm start to float up, 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 up until it's right above your shoulder. Let yourself really just enjoy that space between the ribs there. It's like you're waking up the sides of the body, really. And then use your belly to bring you on back around into center. And then float your arms on up. Bend your elbows. Let your fingertips touch the tops of your shoulders here. As you exhale, bring your elbows forward and towards each other. And as you inhale, bring them back out wide and open again. So exhaling, letting the elbows come forward. You can touch them if you want together. And then when you inhale, let them come back up. And let's make a circle here, or a couple of circles with our elbows. Doesn't matter which direction. Circle a couple of times. And then stop and let the circles go the other way. A couple of times there. Waking up through the shoulders. Good. And then release your arms on down beside you. Shake out a little bit and stretch your legs on out in front of you. And grab a block. All right? Oh, good. There's space back there for you, Alina. So, letting yourself bring the block like the narrowest distance of the block right above your knees, just so you're not pushing into the knees into the block, okay? And feel the toes facing up towards the ceiling. Feel your thighs, inner thighs squeezing into that block. You can put your hands on the block as you lengthen up. Feel your sitting bones reaching down. And now feel your heels on the ground. Draw them back towards you a little bit. And there you are. It's like a really nice staff pose here. Feeling those legs squeezing in energizes you all the way through the legs up into your hips. Take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale, let's twist to our left. So you can bring your left hand around behind you. You can have your right hand stay on the block or go over to the outside of your leg if you choose. But stay engaged. Keep pressing into the block. Squeezing into the block. Really wakes up your legs and your hips here. And then it's easy to lengthen up once you get all that going. One more inhale. Keep squeezing as you bring yourself back around through center and all the way into the other direction as you really squeeze your legs into the blocks. Very engaged. Heels on the ground. One more breath. And then let yourself release to come on back. Bring your hands on behind you. Now, you can just stay right there and open your chest. If any of you do want to bend your knees and lift up for a second here, you can wake up a little bit, like real still squeezing the thighs in towards the blocks. You don't have to lift up into four-footed table unless you want. And then we're going to release and come back down. Just for fun, keep that block there. Bring your hands behind your legs and lift your feet up for a second. Squeeze into that block. You can let your feet touch. yourself stay there. You can release if you want into a little boat or not. Don't need to. Kind of fun, very engaging. What feels even better is bringing our feet down and taking this thing out. So shake out a little bit. Very intense. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So hopefully your hips feel a little more awake. And once you get onto all fours, and you know, of course, adjust, whatever you need to do. Let your tail really wag a little bit one way and then the other. So you're actually really shifting towards one knee. And if that hurts your knees, don't do it. But you're just letting yourself reach out there. Good. And then shift down onto your forearms for a second. Let your hips stay high. All right, so your hips are way up there for a second. And let your head release and hang for a second just to release through your neck. And then go ahead and bring your big toes towards each other. And as you shift your hips back more towards child's pose, that totally depends on you how far you want to go. You can stay forward more on your forearms. You can shift all the way back with your hips. Breathe into your low back. Enjoy. Good. And then come up enough to thread the needle with your left arm under and through so that you come down onto the left side of your head. And see at first if you can just stretch your right arm all the way towards the front edge of your mat so that you're really coming into, pressing into that right hand. Feel the shoulders here both. Take a couple of breaths into between the shoulder blades on your back. Good, and then bring your right hand back by your face so you can press up. We're going to switch to thread the needle with that right arm, come to the right side of the head, really reach that left arm long overhead and press down into that hand a little bit. And then focus your breath into between the shoulder blades on your back. Good. And then bringing your left hand back by your face, we're going to come on back up. We're going to make our way forward, the hands and knees, and come through our cat-cow. So move through. Take your time. Let it feel real flowy this morning. Real easy. Now, if it feels too much to come into either cat or cow, you want to move through to a neutral spine sometimes instead of these bigger curves in the spine, then do it, right? Really be mindful of how your back feels. Good. And then finish off the one you're on. Come on back to more neutral. We're going to curl our toes under. Use your hands now to come back by your knees and lift your knees up off the floor. And see if you can then just kind of lift and lower the knees a little bit. So you're working through your feet. So the knees are going to come up. You're supporting yourself with your hands, and they come back down a little bit. You can really feel your toes. Let the feet, the bottoms of the feet get a little warmed up. Good, and then bring the knees on back down. Bring your hands on forward. Let's step up, stretch our right leg back behind us. And the toes are curled under now, and you're pressing into the heel, waking up the back of that right leg. Good. Now lift that leg up parallel to the floor if you can. Toes are facing down. Take a nice inhale. And when you exhale, draw the knee in towards your nose. You're going to round up into your back. And when you inhale, reach that leg behind you, stretch the left arm forward. So when you exhale, think of your left elbow and your right knee coming towards each other under you. And when you inhale, stretch them back long. So one more time. Exhaling, bringing that opposite elbow to knee. And then inhale, reaching long. Hard movements, and then put the hand and the knee down. Send the left foot back, curl the toes under, keep them on the floor for a second. Wake up the back of that leg. Press into your heel. Engage your belly. Get that right knee in a good spot when you think about lifting that left leg up now, parallel to the floor. And then as you exhale, draw the knee in, round into your back as your knee and nose come towards each other. And then as you inhale, reach out, reach the right arm forward. And as you exhale, if you can do the elbow towards the knee thing, do. And then when you inhale, reach it back. And then exhale again. If you need to put your hand down, do. And then inhale, reach back. Let's come on back to all fours. And then shift back towards child's pose again. So take your time. If you want to bend your elbows and put your hands up on the back of your neck or your upper back, do. If that releases your triceps a little bit. It also can help the wrist feel better. Sometimes you can even give yourself a little massage with your hands right there. One more breath. Good, and then let's bring our hands forward. We're going to come on up to all fours. Now we're going to step our left foot forward. Now you might want your blocks because we're going to leave that back knee down for a second. We're going to shift forward with our hips. So if you need a blanket underneath your knee, use it. Now if you can come up a little higher on your blocks, do. So if you're okay to still keep your hips a little bit forward, but to come up higher, do. Some of you might even want to put your hands on your thigh, right? Some support here still so you're not overdoing and opening through the front of the right hip. Now if you gradually want to go more from there, bring your right arm up overhead. So you still got support with your left hand there. And if you're like, oh, well, I want to bring both arms up, go right ahead. If not, don't do it. Keep your hands down. Use support here or on your blocks. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands on back down and we're going to switch legs. So simply bringing that left knee down, stepping the right foot forward, starting to shift your hips as much as feels good for you. Take your time. Let yourself really adjust to that. Feel the top of the left foot pressing into the floor a little bit. And again, if you're like, well, I want to get off the blocks because it feels good to be up higher, you can support with your hands. You can stay right there. Left arm can come up if you want, so you're still pressing with your right hand down there, so you're supported. Or maybe you feel like you're ready to take over to let the arms come on up. Totally optional. Be where you can. Good. We're going to bring our hands on back down. Lift that back knee up, and let's step forward and come into standing forward bend. So be mindful of getting into your Bodakanasana. Let your feet be just the distance apart you like. Let yourself use whatever support you need. And feel your head, heavy head. And now releasing. Think about your teeth for a second. Are they clenched together? If so, see if you can let your teeth separate a little bit. Feel how that kind of softens. If your lips are softly touching but your teeth are a little apart. Releases the jaw. One more breath here. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips. We're going to rise straight up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, think about the top of your head getting higher up. So there's all that space in your spine. If you need to adjust your stance, do it. If you need to look at your feet, if you need to change how far apart your feet are. Just for a second, once you get grounded and you get your pelvis where it feels really aligned and easy to stand here, go to your hands with your awareness and separate your pointer fingers a little bit. And then let them touch back together. And then separate your middle fingers a little bit. And then let them come back to meet. And then go to your ring fingers. And then let them come back together. And now your pinkies. And they're going to softly reconnect. And then your thumbs a little bit. And then let them come on back. And as the hands are spread here now, feel as equal as you can between your fingers and your thumbs. Feel what part of the palms of your hands touch. You're not trying to make every single part of your palms touch, right? And just enjoy coming into your mountain pose. And for a second, imagine that you're smiling. Not necessarily physically smiling, but imagine that you are. Finding that lightness to your face. And as we unfold our arms on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, as we bend our knees, fold forward from our hips into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long, flat back. And we'll step the right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale, exhaling into downward facing dog pose. First dog of class. So take your time to adjust. Do what you need. Walk or bend your knees or check out your hands. If you feel not quite equal in your hands, you can always look at them. Endeavoring to get your pointer fingers about parallel to each other and easily reaching back through your sitting bones. Knees can stay bent. You know that if that's better in your dog. And we're going to come on out to a plank from here. So coming into plank, engage your belly, lift your right toes just about an inch off the floor. A little tiny bit. And then put them down, and now your left. Just a tiny little bit. And then put them down, still feel really equal here. And now, before you lower down, kind of imagine you're pulling yourself towards the front of your mat. And then if you want to put your knees down first, do. And come on down to the mat, however you choose. And let's come onto our forearms into a Sphinx Pose. Elbows close to under the shoulders, whatever you need to do to adjust that, you know that. Gaze forward between your hands. Now feel the tops of the toes gently into the floor, but the belly gently engaging. Not so much that you feel like you're really strongly curling your tailbone down. Just enough to feel a little active there. One more breath. And then we'll lower back down, hands by the chest. We're going to come on back into down dog. So whether you come through a half or a full push-up, or back to your hands and knees, and then back to your down dog. And this time we'll bring the right foot forward to come into lunge. So if you need to put your left knee down too. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. And right to our breath. Easily in and out. If you need to nod or shake your head a little bit there, do. If you're feeling like you're tensing up in your neck, or your jaw, or your face. Good. One more breath. And then as we bend our knees and press into our feet, we're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale the hands right up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms like wings as we fold forward again into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale lengthen out your back. This time, left foot steps back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. Fingers spread wide, elbows hug towards each other. Now think for a second in your dog that you're letting yourself melt your heart almost down and back a little bit. So you come into a little bit of release there in between the shoulder blades on the back. And then on the next inhale, come on out to plank again, nice and strong. And we are going to lower down. Knees first if you want, all the way down to the mat. And let's come into a little Cobra. Float your hands up for a second. Let the hands be like right in front of your shoulders, really. So you're really using your back here. You're not using your hands at all. Go ahead and bring them back down to the floor, and you can decide if you want to press into the hands and come up higher or not for your Cobra. You can stay low, you know that. Keep your elbows bent a little bit in towards your ribs. One more breath. And then we'll all lower all the way back down. And we're going to come back into down dog from there. However you choose to get there. And we'll bring our left foot forward to come into line. And then we'll come all the way back into standing forward bend. So be mindful, whatever works for you. If you like to hold your elbows, go right ahead. If you like to bring your hands under your feet, maybe you prefer to bring your hands up on your back or behind your legs, right? Just experiment a little bit. Go to a place where you feel like you can stay for a few breaths, and it's the best, the most releasing way for you to have your arms. And stay with your breaths all the way in and all the way out. Good. And then we're going to release to bring our hands up to our hips, bend our knees, rising up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Come into mountain pose for a couple of breaths here. If you need to sway around a little bit to get situated and balanced feeling, do. And now we're going to follow our breath through the next two sun salutations, letting the breath really lead us. So if you can imagine your breath really being what is moving you in through the poses, right? So releasing your arms on down beside you and inhaling both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, coming forward into standing forward bend. Let your inhale lengthen out your spine. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Let your inhale bring you to your plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back into down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top of the breath. And on the exhale, we'll fold forward again. Let your inhale lengthen your spine. And exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale into down dog. Inhale your way out to your plank. Let your exhale be what lowers you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. And exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way to the top. And let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, find that long back. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands. Jump, walk, whatever you want to do to get there. Wag your tail a little bit. Be mindful there. Let your head turn a little. Don't let it be a loose dog, you know? Like you're not tightening and tensing up. You're just kind of moving your way into getting comfortable. Good. And then from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. Have both your blocks handy for you. We're coming up for warrior two. So lining up those heels, getting that back foot just where you know you want it to be. And bring your hands together in front of your chest, but then clasp your hands. Like you're just squeezing your hands a little towards each other and getting set in your legs. And as you squeeze, feel your palms. And then remember how we started with getting our fingers just adjusting to each other. See if you can release that and go right to your prayer hands and just feel that gentle connection through your fingers, your thumbs and your palms. And then let's inhale our hands right on up through the midline. And open the arms. Start to rotate the palms down as you come into your warrior two arms. Bringing your gaze right out over the top of that left hand. Feel how your hands are almost tingly, right? Amazing. Reach out through the fingertips. Feel your whole body in the pose. Let yourself enjoy feeling the feet gently press away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer. Feeling your hips, the strength there in the core of the body. Good. We're going to straighten the front knee out. Let your left hand come down for triangle pose. And as it does, see if your right arm can just keep floating up. You know me, I like to block under my hand. You can use anything you want under your hand. See if you can keep that right arm reaching up. You know if it bothers your shoulder, don't do it. If possible, press a little forward with that right hand. See about turning to look up a little bit towards the ceiling. If that bothers your neck, do not do it. In fact, to release the neck, often looking down towards the ground is better. So do what feels good for your neck. One more breath. Enjoy the thighs engaging upward, the length through both sides of the body here. And then we're going to bend the left knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two. Pressing the feet gently away from each other. Really feeling, again, the energy out through the fingertips. And then bring your hands down. Turn your feet more parallel. But then start to rotate your feet out a little bit for a little goddess. All right? So the feet are rotated out. At first, bring your arms up higher than your shoulders. Let your palms face front. And let's do just 5 points here. 5-pointed star. Feet are turned out for this. And now, when you bend your elbows and your knees and go into goddess, you're going to be right there with the tailbone coming down. Good. Now, if you feel like this is too deep in your knees, your hips are screaming at you, come up a little bit, because we're going to bring our left arm on top of our right and give a hug. Once you've given a hug, release your hands, start to send the backs of your hands towards each other. Now you can do your full wrap, or maybe you don't want to. Maybe you want to try something different where you just send the back of your right hand kind of to the back of your left hand. If you like to do the full wrap, do the full wrap. Be mindful, let your shoulders release. Good, one more breath. We're going to open back up into those goddess arms. So bend the elbows and let your hands spread nice and wide. If you can go a little bit deeper now, do. And then we're going to come on straighter with our legs, turn our feet more parallel, and we're going to come on forward for wide-legged forward bend. Grab your blocks if you need them. Take your time. Once you get yourself grounded, bend a knee at a time. And you know you can stay to one side as long as you want. If something hurts your knee, don't do it. Just be easy. Let your legs adjust. Sometimes when you do those little bit of movements, you do want to change the width of your stance. That's fine. Good. And then when you get ready to set yourself up to be with your breath, remember, you just want to be so released in your upper body that you can feel totally relaxed and you can let yourself be with your breath without being distracted by anything on your body, right? So let the most important thing be just watching your breaths going in and going out. Feeling the fullness of the breath, both when you inhale and you exhale. One more nice, deep, full breath. Now we are going to make our way back to our left foot to come back into lunge. So, walk your way on back around there. And we'll come on back into down dog. Once you're in dog, walk a little bit, find your dog, and on your next inhale, come on out to your plank. Let's shift into a little side plank on our left hand. So you can put your left knee down if you want. Use that left foot as a kickstand, or you can do a full side plank there if you choose to. So take your time. You can let yourself lift the right foot a little off the floor if you have your knee down, or even if you don't. If you're in a full one, you can try to lift that top foot. A lot harder to do that. And then come on down. We're going to shift to the other side. So again, right knee can come down. Use it like a kickstand. You can do a full side plank if you want. Again, you can think about lifting that left foot up a little bit if you want, whether your knee is down or up. And then we'll come on back down again. Let's come through for an up dog. Now, if you want, you can put your knees down first. Go to the tops of the feet and come through. Or you can stay with your toes curled under. And then let's all make our way all the way down to the mat. Shift back towards pose of a child. And then let your hands walk over to the right. And as far as you want to go over to the right side, and breathe into your left side. And then walk back through center and go the other way. So breathing here into the right side, feeling that expansion through the ribs. Try to let your head release. Good, and then come on back forward with your arms overhead. And we'll inhale our way up to all fours. Come on back into your down dog, and you're on your own here. If you want to do anything at all, do it. You want to come into vinyasas or kriyas. Maybe you feel better to come back into your child's pose. You know, you move how it feels good for you. Take your time. You'd rather open your hips, open your hips. You'd rather do some fast or slow flowing, do that. Good. And then finish off the one you're on so we can meet back in down dog. Good. And this time we'll bring the right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two on the other side. So again, as you line up your heels, ease your way here into bending that front knee. And then you get your hands together and you interlace your fingers and really squeeze your palms together a little bit there. And also think about squeezing your fingers. I mean, you can feel the bones in your fingers there. You're squeezing like pretty strongly, actually. Just because when you do let go of that, and then you just gently allow your hands to touch there, it feels so good. Everything's awake. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Inhale your hands now right up through the midline. And on the exhale, as you open them and turn the palms down, coming into your warrior two arms. Bring your gaze right out over the top of that right hand. And again, feel the energy through your hands. Feel the fingertips reaching away from the midline. Soft in the tops of your shoulders. Feet very strongly in the floor. And feel the engagement into your hips, your back. We're going to straighten the right leg out. Bring the right hand down for triangle. So again, you can use whatever you want for your hand. Block can be in front of or behind that leg, or you can use your leg. Thighs lift up. Now, if you could keep that left arm up, do. Palm facing the long edge of your mat there in front of you. And then if you like to look up, sometimes just gently pushing forward like there's a wall in front of that left hand enables you to change enough to be able to look up in your neck and in your upper back. But that's not necessary. Be mindful. If your neck bothers you, look down. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Very active pose. We're going to bend into the right knee. We're going to come on back into warrior two. Pressing the feet away from each other as we come. And now bring your hands on down. Again, we're going to turn our feet so that we end up turned out for a little goddess-like pose there. At first, bring your arms up into that X. Turn your palms forward. Straighten. Everything's straight here. See if you can feel like an X, right? And then when you bend your elbows and your knees and you come into goddess, it feels really easy. The knees come out over the center of the feet. Tailbone drops down. You're trying not to tuck it up under you. But you also don't want to hyperextend into your front rib cage either. So there's a fine little line there. Bring your right arm over your left. Give yourself a hug. And then decide, as you release your hands, maybe you just want to send the backs of the hands towards each other a little bit. That's a different feeling than going all the way into your wrap, isn't it? So, just play. Just feel good. Let yourself release there between the shoulder blades on the back. One more breath. And then we'll open the arms back into goddess arms again. And let's go back into straightening out the arms and the legs, that 5-pointed star. Nice. And then bring your arms on down. Turn your feet more parallel. Clasp your hands behind you. And we're going to come on forward into that wide-legged forward bend. Now, if you can keep your hands back there, do. You know, that might mean you need to stay parallel to the floor with your knees bent. Or you might feel really good to fold all the way forward and top of the head down towards the ground and let your arms come off your back. That is up to you. And be where you can. Easy, deep breaths. When you're ready to release your arms, feel free to do that. And then walk over towards your right foot. Doesn't matter how far you go. You can add your right hand on up and turn up into a little twist there if that feels good. And then come on back down so you can walk back to the other side. And then again, left hand up to the left hip. You can roll that shoulder up if you choose. Good, and then come on back into center again. And be mindful, set yourself up. You need to wiggle around a little bit more. If you like to do those turned out of the feet, bending a knee at a time, where you get down with your hips, you get into your hamstrings a little more, go ahead. Just play a little bit. And then when you get ready to set up and be where you're going to stay, take your time. Let yourself come into this pose again with as much release as you can in your upper body. Really feeling the expansion of the ribs as you inhale. One more breath here. And as we let ourselves walk back out so we can come back to our right foot, find our lunge, then we'll come on back into down dog. And from here, feet a little closer together. Bring your right leg up in the air. Do a little three-leg dog there. Let your toes face down towards the ground. And then come on forward like you're doing a plank, but bring your knee in underneath you, right? And then inhale, stretch back into the three legs. And then put that foot down and we'll just go the other side. So the left leg is up. You're into that really squaring the hips. And then come on forward in towards your plank. Bring your knee in towards your chest a little. And then come on back again into those three legs. And now you're on your own. Do whatever you want from here. You want to do some vinyasas or kriyas. You want to do some more of those. You want to do some more side plank work. You want to do some hip openers. Good. If you're doing two sides, make sure you're even. Good, and then we'll meet back in downward facing dog pose. And this time, we are going to bring our left foot forward. We're going to come into lunge, and you do need your blocks. So let yourself come into lunge just briefly, because we're just going to right away from here go up into pyramid pose. We're going to lower that back heel down to the floor, adjust our length of our stance, adjust how high up you are on your blocks. Take your time. Feel that back heel fully in the floor. Remember, your back foot is turned out maybe 20, 30 degrees, but the heel is grounded. Arches are lifting up above feet. Try to lengthen your spine out. Really lengthen your spine out. And then imagine you're drawing your hip pointer bones towards each other with your belly, but you're reaching back through your tailbone at the same time. You don't want to curl your tailbone up under you. That's a lot of work right there. And then bring your left hand to your left hip and roll that left shoulder up. Come on into revolve triangle here. So you're trying to stay as level as you can in your hips. Finding that twist in the middle of the back. You're welcome to stretch your left arm up if you want. And then release to come on back down with that hand. If you want to bow over that front leg now, by all means do. If that feels even better for you. Feel the thighs engaging up towards the hips. Good. And one more breath here. And now, come up. We're going to bend that front knee, find lunge again. We're going to send our blocks forward, and we're going to shift on up into a half moon pose. So bringing that foot up, turning the hip out to open it up here. So letting the toes turn away from the floor. Now you can balance or not. You can either shift your weight to your left hand, you can keep your right fingertips down, you can bring your right hand up if you want, letting your hand come up to your hip, or stretch your arm up overhead if you choose to. You're fun in your half moon, where you want to be. Remember, you want to feel that heel directly behind your sitting bone. Try not to let the leg go back behind you, which kind of bows the body. It takes, then you're not using your belly so much anymore. One more breath. And then let yourself come back down with your hand. It was left. Turn your toes down and reach back into your lunge again. And let's come on back into downward facing dog pose. And this time, do bring your feet closer together. Lift your left leg up in the air behind you. Bend the knee and open the hip. You can stack that left hip on top of the right, and you can look under your left arm there. And then bring that foot on down. Let's just do the other side while we're up here. Right leg up and open the hip. Stack that right hip on top of the left. Good, and then bring it back down. You're on your own again. If you want to do anything more, do it. Vinyasas or kriyas. Put your knees down. If you're getting really tired, pay attention to how your body feels. Good. We're going to meet back in down dog. And this time we'll bring the right foot forward to come into that lunge. Now remember, we're setting up from this lunge to go right into pyramid. So as you start to straighten the front leg out and you bring that back foot in enough to lower it fully to the floor, thighs are engaging up towards the hips. Lengthen out through your spine. So if that means you need to get higher up on your blocks, do it, so that you can find that long back and you can start to use your belly to draw your hip pointer bones towards each other. But send your tailbone back. A big difference. And then bringing your right hand onto your hip and rolling that shoulder up into that revolved triangle pose. You can keep your hand down. You can stretch your right arm up if you want. Finding that twist, but keeping level as you can in your sacrum. And then we'll go ahead and bring the right hand on back down. And you're more than welcome to fold forward over that leg, only if it feels good. It doesn't feel good to everybody's body. It just depends. Good. So one more breath here. And then we're going to come up, bend that front knee, find a little bit of a lunge so that you can launch yourself forward. So bringing yourself on forward, your left foot comes up, you're going to open up through that hip. So think of stacking that left hip on top of the right. Remember, you still don't want your toes to look up towards the ceiling. They're still angled down a little bit back there. And then you can decide if you want to bring your left hand up off the block, or if you want to keep your hand on your hip, you want to stretch the arm overhead. Play where you want in your half moon. If it's not a great balance day, just don't even worry about it. Good. One more breath. And then let yourself release. We're going to step back into lunge again. And then from here, we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. From your dog, bend your knees really, really deeply. Hug your elbows towards each other. And really reach back through your tailbone, through your sitting bones. And then come on out to a last plank here. Let yourself lift one foot up off the floor. Bring the knee in towards your chest. Stretch it back long. And then put it down, and then do the other foot up. Bring the knee in towards your chest. Stretch it back, three-legged plank. Put the knee down. Come on back into down dog. Separate your feet wider. And walk your hands on back towards your feet. You can come up to elbows above your knees if that's better. Or you can walk your hands through your feet, behind your feet. Hold on the outside of your ankles if you want. You can squat down, of course. If you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to squat, you can just let your hips come down. You got to find what feels good in your hips and in your back. Whether you keep your hands back or bring your hands together in front of your chest, that's so up to you. Take some breaths. Oh, that was all kind of crazy. So, let's come up briefly, right? Let yourself come on up briefly. Shake out a little bit and do some little swinging twists. We're going to stay right here today. We're not going to move our mats. So let yourself swing around. Good. Good. And then swing your arms back and forth a little bit. And when you do, if you like to, like if you had ski poles, right, and you're pushing off with the ski poles, it's that kind of action of feeling just like it's not like really bounces, but it's almost like a little bounce in your knees, right? A little double bounce, right? Let your arms feel free too. Good.
Worst thing about skiing.
Huh?
It's the worst thing about skiing.
You're the big skier in here.
Don't like pulling.
We are going to come down to our mats, onto our bellies. So come on down, take a little break to rest your forehead on your hands. And just breathe. Oh, let it feel good to release into your low back. Good. And then let's come onto our forearms, into a little sphinx, just briefly. And let yourself then bring your hands together, clasp them, send your pinky fingers out. Come on up either into a half forearm plank or a full forearm plank. That's up to you. Finding where you can be. Pressing into those forearms. Good, and then come back down. Keep your hands where they are, but come back more towards the Sphinx for a second. But don't bring your gaze way far forward. Keep looking down. Just take a little break. And now see if you can, from coming up into that plank, just keep on walking your feet towards your face to come up to dolphin. So once you come up into the plank, then think of walking your feet up closer towards your face and come up into your dolphin pose. And if that is like out of the question, don't do it. Come down, put your knees down, and go up from your knees if you'd rather. Right? Once you get up there, if you're like, oh my gosh, this feels the worst thing ever, put your knees down and rest. Or if you want to put a leg up in the air, put a leg up in the air. If you like to do the 3 legs, it's different without the wall there, but it's nice, it's challenging. And you know when you're ready to rest, you let yourself come down, rest in child's pose for a couple breaths. We will go up more than once. So if you're like, oh, well, I'm going to rest for a minute, then let yourself rest. And then again, the next time you're ready to go up, go on up, let yourself, and kind of imagine when you're in this dolphin, that it's like being in down dog, and it becomes like a resting pose. Your head is hanging, it's not touching the floor. You're looking back towards your feet. Elbows are hugging inward a little bit. Try to find that release between the shoulder blades on your back. Isn't that nice when it feels like a rest? And then let yourself release. Knees on down. Now you can either rest in child's pose, or some of you might want to go ahead and sit up on your feet so that your head is up above your heart again. That's up to you. Good. And now from here, we're going to get our straps. Everybody got one, right? I'm just going to turn mine down. So at first, take your strap and just be really careful of the metal buckle end of it, as we all know. So you're going to undo your strap and let yourself sit however's comfortable. And just let your shoulders get a huge relief here, okay? So let your arms be, your hands be maybe, you know, 1.5 feet apart, maybe farther if you want, maybe a little less. Start where you're kind of wide though, like, so that when your arms go up overhead, it's more like being up into a V shape or a Y shape, right? And then let yourself just experiment with the arms going back a little bit further. See how you feel across your chest there. And then come on back, let them come down front a little bit more again. Now imagine you're trying to pull your strap longer. So now you're engaging. You're pulling your hands away from each other. Come back up to the top. And now let the strap go one way, but don't let the body go. It's just your arms. So try not to do that. Try to keep your body up and your arm comes in towards your, head, here. And then come over to the other side. And then come on back into center. See again if you can go back a little more. And then come on back, lower the strap down, keep pulling. And we're going to try to get our hands a little closer together. So if you know that when you rise your arms up overhead, you can't have your arms right over your shoulders, then don't do it. Keep them wide. But if you can, start to do this with your hands closer together so that when the strap comes up, you're a little closer over to your shoulders, or you get up there and you're like, oh, I just want to be even a little closer, and hug the elbows towards each other. You're really engaged when you're trying to pull your hands away from each other, but you're hugging your elbows in, yeah? Good, and you can do that little side to side a little bit too up here. Not going very far because your hands are closer together. Good. And then one more little back behind you if you can. And then go ahead and release. Keep the strap coming down in front of you. Once you let it go, see how your shoulders feel. Roll a couple of times. Bring your legs out in front of you. Let's put our strap on our right foot and bring our left foot in. Now you know about this. If you are iffy when you come into this pose with that bent leg, if you need to lower the foot down, do. If you need to put support underneath your knee or your thigh or whatever works. So you don't want to feel sitting up tall, you might be just fine. But when you start to come forward, pressing the ball of the foot into the strap, if you feel any kind of, just a weird glitch in your knee, just a little bit of support, a blanket or a block can be really helpful. So be really mindful of that. This is not all about stretching the hamstring of that long leg. You're also getting into that left hip, right? So as you bring yourself forward, think of coming forward from your low back. I know a lot of you are fine to reach down and get your foot. You can still do that. You can still feel the strap on your foot though, so you know you're equal in your foot. Maybe still get down to your foot with your hand. And enjoy. Janushirasana. One more breath. Now, slowly bring yourself back up. We are going to switch to put our left foot down there. And again, you have to adjust how high up you want this right foot. Again, whether it feels okay in your knee and your hip, especially when you start to lengthen up, press that foot into that strap and draw yourself forward. If there is a weird feeling in anything on this right side, try support. So just ease your way forward from your low back. Take your time. Again, if you're, want to reach down, see if you can still at least look at your strap across the ball of your foot. Make sure you're pressing equally Sometimes it's very tempting to roll to the pinky toe side of that foot. So really press into the ball of the big toe mound there and your little toe, right? That keeps you equally focused. So from the foot all the way up into the leg and into the hip. Good. One more breath here. Now, be mindful as you come back up, take your strap on off and put it on off to the side. We're done with it. Shake your legs out a little bit. And then let's bring the soles of our feet towards each other, towards a little Bodakanasana. So, you know, if you want, you can start with your feet like way out in front of you. And then you can edge your way in. Like if pick yourself up and get a little closer, you can go, well, that feels pretty good. Or then you can go, oh, I don't know if that feels good, but if you sit up tall and that feels good too, then, you know, you can kind of get the right distance to where you know you're going to be able to sit up nice and tall, however far away your feet are from you. Good. And sit up tall. Inhale into the length of your own spine here. And then as you exhale, whether you come forward a half an inch or, you know, several inches forward, let yourself come forward a little bit or a lot more, depending on you. Now, if you can't imagine, try not to tense up in your hips. Kind of imagine you're lengthening your inner thighs by allowing the knees to reach a little more away from the midline. So that you find length in your inner thighs. You're not trying to push the knees down towards the ground, right? And one more breath. To come back up. Be mindful, you can use your hands to help your knees back up if you want, stretch your legs out. And we're going to come into this restorative pose with our bolsters. And you may want, I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me, you may want a blanket as well, and if somebody doesn't have one and needs one, I'll come around. But just reminding you of the setup, it's been a while since you've done it. So you want to lie back on your bolster so that the bolster is on your spine, but your bottom is on the floor before you lay back. So you guys who have the broader bolster, that's the one I usually use, but these are great too, these little ones. How far your bottom is from the end of that bolster is totally up to you. It could be 2 inches or 3 inches, you know. You may decide you need to feel your feet on the floor and adjust your spine there so you can let your shoulders just kind of collapse down towards the ground on the outer edges of the bolster there. And some of you might want to put your blocks underneath, do that same Bodakanasana we just did, soles of the feet together, but supported with blocks, which often brings a huge release into the low back. Right? Not for everybody. Some people, this is like heaven to have their feet in Bodakanasana in this pose. And some of you will be saying, not me, man. Nothing about this feels good. So I'm going to walk around so I can bring stuff. A blanket can make a huge difference underneath your head. So wave that means. Okay, I'm coming. Put your bottom on the floor. Yes, your bottom should be on the floor. That hurts my back. Take your bottom farther away from the bolster. Takes a while. Is that better? If it feels not good, just come on. Yes. I'm gonna start to get lights. Some of you will be really comfortable and you'll say, oh, I just want to stay here. But at least, for 2 or 3 minutes, if you can. Unless you're just absolutely miserable. Don't fight yourself here. I was miserable. I wouldn't be waiting for you to tell me stuff. Good thing. Good thing.
No crying.
Yeah.
But there's also grown-ups in this room. No crying.
Oh, that's a loose word.
Hopefully, we would know if it was a torturous position, but not really.
Yeah, but sometimes if you give it a little bit of time.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Sometimes. So. So if you've had enough, you can take yourself out of this pose and just come down to lie for Shavasana the way you want to. But just enjoy. Like if you're coming off of that bolster, lie there for a second with nothing under you just to see how the front and the back of your body feel. Don't force it. It is to open your chest, so if you have your arms out beside you, your palms just slightly turned upwards, sometimes that can make a huge difference. Good. You really feel like you're being supported like that. And let me know if I can bring you anything. If you're setting into your Shavasana, setting up now and coming down off that bolster, let me know if you need anything else. Put the bolster under your knees. I can bring a blanket if anybody needs it. Let yourself just softly come to be with your breath. Accepting your breaths in and out. Mind wanders off. It's okay. Just softly come back. Watching the breath again until your mind wanders off again. Just give yourself these few minutes, having time to benefit from all we just did. Just by letting yourself completely and fully relax. easily bringing your awareness back to feeling the ground underneath you, supporting you again. Breath kind of naturally wants to come in and go out more fully as you bring your awareness back to feeling physical again. Let your fingers, your toes, if they feel like wiggling and moving, start to initiate movement into your body, into your arms, your legs. Stretch if you need to stretch. Be really mindful if you are still up on that bolster. Be careful if you roll off to your side. Remember you're up a little ways, so take your time so that you don't have any unexpected jolts coming up there. So you're welcome to stay on either side if you roll to your side and be there for a few breaths. You're welcome to use that momentum of rolling to your side to let you float up. Really, we're all different. Just be really aware of what your own body needs. Take your time. You are rising up and you're trying to get comfortable in the way you're sitting, let your eyes close if they open on the way up, and just find that length upward again as you feel the top of the head gently floating upward, and you have all that space in the back of your neck, your throat. You can easily breathe. Next exhale, let your hands come together there to be in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Namaste. Happy Friday. Good weekend.